Hello friends, these are the two biggest and heaviest flying birds of modern times. You won't find a single bird bigger than these, which can only run. And this is scientifically proven as well. But what you might not know is that in the history of the Earth, there has been a creature by the name of Quetzalcoatlus, which was this big compared to them and was at least 11 times heavier than them. Which means that this bird could fly in the sky as long as a giraffe and as heavy as a bear. But in today's history, we are told that these bigger birds cannot fly just because of their size and weight. So what has changed since then that big birds cannot fly in size? And on top of that, like I said, this animal was the largest flying creature on Earth, which used to dominate the sky during the dinosaurs' time. And that's why many scientists say that from today, 66 million years ago, it was extinct due to a meteor crash. But then, according to these scientists, modern birds, dinosaurs living on the Earth like velociraptors, have evolved. So how can this be? How did these Earth-like dinosaurs survive? And the flying dinosaurs, which could fly the furthest, were killed and completely extinct. How did land dinosaurs become modern birds today? And the entire lineage of flying dinosaurs is over. In difficult situations, usually, animals evolve such features that are advantageous for the survival of that species. Now, in such a situation, flying with such a heavy body should be the last option for that species, right? If it had to escape from its prey, then it could evolve strong defenses like other dinosaurs of its time, like Triceratops or sauropods. So, apart from all this, why did evolution choose to fly in this? Well, to find the answers to all these interesting questions, let's start the story from the beginning. Actually, in the year 1971, some geologists at the University of Texas were looking for dinosaurian fossils in the Big Bend National Park of Texas. Because dinosaurs keep on finding fossils here, which makes it a hot spot to find big, ferocious dinosaurs. Now, when they started their research here, they found more than 100 bones of different dinosaurs. But before this project, they found a fossil that changed their understanding of dinosaurs forever. In fact, when that group of researchers was digging there, a geology student of that group, Douglas Lawson, found a bone of a wrist bone as big as a frisbee. After seeing this, he started digging around it. And he found many bones that were linked to this bone. But what was this animal after all? To understand this, they took the bones to the university. When they joined the bones and reconstructed this animal on the computer, then they did not believe in themselves. Because this wrist bone was not an ordinary dinosaur's wrist bone. Rather, it was a dinosaur's wrist bone whose hands were shaped like the wings of a lightning rod. But this lightning rod was apparently so big in size that it could hide a whole yellow school bus under its wings. And if we talk about its weight, it was as heavy as a full-sized bear. Meaning, if all these findings were correct, then the fossil that Douglas found was the largest flying animal fossil ever, which he then named Quetzalcoatlus nortropi. But hold on, did you notice a problem in their results? Such a heavy fossil. Even though it was heavy, it could fly according to Douglas. But how? Because as I said earlier, the largest flying dinosaur on Earth is 4 times smaller in size than this one, and 10 times lighter in weight. And bigger birds like ostriches cannot fly exactly because of their weight. So could Quetzalcoatlus even fly with its heavy body? Well, the reasons behind this are quite interesting. Well, this question was being asked to many scientists. And that's why they started their own independent research on this dinosaur. Unfortunately, due to the lack of proper technology at that time, the fossil of this dinosaur remained a mystery for the next almost 17 years. Until 1984. In 1984, as technology evolved in every field, all the scientists started solving the mystery of Quetzalcoatlus on their own. One of them, an aviation engineer, Paul McCready, made a model to prove whether Quetzalcoatlus can fly. For this, he first developed paleontology, ornithology, and aerodynamics. He made a group of field experts. And then, with the help of these experts, he made a complete fossil of Quetzalcoatlus. And then, by estimating its size and weight more accurately, he made a model like this and tested it. Now, the results of that test were something that challenged everyone's common sense. Actually, they saw that in every flying creature, whether it is an insect or a bird, they have a long, pointed structure, which gives them stability while flying. This is the reason why in our modern airplanes and helicopters, you will see such stabilizers at the back. But there was no such structure in this creature. Now, in this case, they felt that it is possible that their understanding of their own flying is still incomplete. And that's why, if such flawed understanding data is fed to the computer model, then it will not work properly. So, why not do one thing? Right now, with the help of milk and water, they made a small live remote-controlled Quetzalcoatlus. Now, in the experiments of this remote-controlled model, it was found that this model could only fly when its head moved sideways in the flight and gave stability. This means that, ideally, the tail that works in flying creatures, in the case of Quetzalcoatlus, it could potentially do its neck. Now, with this model, one big problem has been solved. But now it's time for the second big problem, which they identified while solving this first problem. Actually, when Paul's small-sized model was successful in flying, and he got the surety that such structures can also fly, then to verify to what extent such creatures can fly in the air, he made a new remote-controlled model as heavy as a Quetzalcoatlus. In this model, he used carbon fiber stronger than steel for its bones, and instead of its wings, he used a rubber-thin sheet of cloth. And finally, Paul put his head on it and tested it. Basically, he fitted it on a trolley. And as soon as the trolley gave it a sharp momentum, it started to fly. This means that, after this test, Paul realized that, if a model as heavy as a human, which is already heavier than the current bird's limit, could fly, then Quetzalcoatlus could also fly. Just that, there was still a problem. A paleontologist, Kevin Padian, found a loophole in Paul's model, which Paul should have identified earlier. But anyway, according to Kevin, Paul made two mistakes. First, Paul directly extrapolated with the help of his human-sized half-sized model that a Quetzalcoatlus as heavy as a bear could also fly. Whereas, if a human and a bear weigh 150 kilos, then jumping the guns cannot be done so quickly. And secondly, he launched his model from a trolley with wheels, just like a plane. Whereas, whether a bird can fly or not, how it launches, i.e. how it takes off, is the biggest deciding factor. He noticed that his feet were quite small, and his wings touched the ground. In such a situation, if he opened his wings to fly, he would fall on his face. In such a situation, he started thinking really hard. He thought, what if he was dependent on the technique of launching? And so, he tried to jump the Quetzalcoatlus's computer model with different jumping techniques. And finally, one technique worked. He saw that if Quetzalcoatlus would lift off like this, then yes, it could indeed fly. But here you can see how impractical it was to fly with such a big body. Because here, this species had to evolve not only the structure, but also the technique. So, now the question arises, even though it was so heavy, and even though it was so hard, why did this species evolve to fly? Well, to understand this, we have to go back 240 million years, when this creature did not fly in the jungle, but rather, it used to run. Actually, scientists think that, from today, 240 million years ago, Quetzalcoatlus evolved from such small reptiles like rats. Because when the researcher of the National Museum of Scotland, David Fofa, took CT scans of its fossils, he found that its upper jaw and thigh bone are much more related to flying dinosaurs. Now, do you understand what this means? The flying dinosaurs had evolved from the reptiles. But how exactly did these land reptiles evolve from the flying dinosaurs? Unfortunately, no scientist has the answer to this question. Because scientists have not found any fossil record of the animals between these flying dinosaurs. But scientists have a theory about their evolution. According to this theory, these reptiles started to live in the trees. There, they used to jump from one tree to another and eat insects. At this point, it is more useful for them to have such a thin, membrane-like structure than the reptiles themselves. This is the reason why they could easily glide between trees. Meaning, if they had evolved the gliding membrane, then they would have reached a higher hierarchy in the food chain. And this is just how evolution works. It chooses the same path in any species, which takes that species to a higher peak, which is more advantageous than the current condition. And that is why these small running reptiles evolved into such gliding reptiles. But there was a problem in their membranes. Even now, there was a problem. Through these membranes, they could glide and cover only small distances. But if they could fly in the air in any way, then they could cover a greater distance. Because of this, they would have the advantage of eating more food, and also, it was a time when even birds had not evolved. So if they could fly in any way, then there was no one in the sky to challenge them. In fact, they could even escape from their prey there, and because of this, some of them had their bones broken and their membranes evolved into wings. And due to these changes, 120 million years ago, such small flying dinosaurs evolved from these reptiles. Now, because they had no competition in the sky, they slowly grew in size. This is how big flying dinosaurs like Quetzalcoatlus evolved. How big a creature would evolve, and in which way would evolve, this is not on their own body, but what other animals were doing at that time. How was the nature and the environment? It was dependent on this. And so, despite being so heavy, Quetzalcoatlus evolved to fly, and because of this, in their time, they were at the peak of evolution. But still, having said that, now just wait and think, if they were at the peak of evolution, then suddenly, how did it happen that none of them survived? Why today, velociraptor, like the land creatures, are found in birds, but the ones that could fly are not found in them? Now many people give a silly answer to this, that 66 million years ago, they were killed, along with other dinosaurs. And even, you might also think, so let's take a short recap, that 66 million years ago, what exactly happened? At that time, the Earth of Chicxulub asteroid caused the Earth to collapse, and everywhere, there was a scene of destruction. And the first impact of this was on the dinosaurs that lived on the Earth. Yet, according to this research of Scientific American, all the birds evolved from the dinosaurs that lived on the Earth. The simple meaning of this is that, even after Chicxulub, some of the land dinosaurs survived. Because they will stay alive, only then they will evolve into the birds, right? So, the simple meaning of this is that, when the asteroid collided there, some of the land dinosaurs survived. But the flying dinosaurs, who could easily go away from this, were killed. So, let me ask you again, what happened with those flying dinosaurs? Well, pause the video and comment your opinion below. So, the flying dinosaurs died because Chicxulub fell on the Earth. Actually, due to its fall on the Earth began to melt, and the hot lava inside it began to come out as volcanic eruptions. Because of this, the sulfur-like poisonous gases that came out of the volcano spread all over the Earth. And to escape from them, some of the dinosaurs jumped into the water. But the flying dinosaurs like Quetzalcoatlus could not jump into the water, because their body was designed to fly, not to float, and, as we saw, they were also very big in size. And that's why they could not immediately take shelter in the water. In fact, this is the reason that we do not find genes of any big dinosaurs in current animals. Meaning, on one hand, Chicxulub asteroid was just one filter that filtered all the big animals out of the Earth. Besides, you can see that the creatures from Chicxulub extinction, like turtles, crocodiles, alligators, even dinosaurs, like velociraptors, were all small in size. Because the advantage of being small is that they can reproduce to big animals and less resources. But having said that, if we say that Quetzalcoatlus was an apex predator, whereas by that time of extinction many more flying creatures had evolved, then the obvious thing is their flying structure was an evolutionary marvel. So what is the reason that when modern birds were evolving, then the creatures like velociraptors did not adopt the structure of Quetzalcoatlus? Why did they develop flying structures completely different? Now, my argument on this is that perhaps during the time of Quetzalcoatlus, it was the first non-insect creature that could fly. And that's why, despite being an evolutionary marvel, it didn't last long. Because during World War II, the fighter planes were so capable that they literally won wars. But tell me, just because they were capable at that time and had the apex planes, was that why today's modern planes will be made on the same design? Obviously not, right? Because while doing trial and error, we have now understood that designs can be made even better than that. Quetzalcoatlus is that old World War II plane. Today's modern birds are modern fighter jets. And evolution is that judge who noticed the X factor, and this is why today we don't get to see animals like these. In fact, similarly, in different environments, evolution chooses this X factor. For example, if we talk about the deep sea, then in the deep sea, all the animals in them and their shallow water cousins, there is a difference between the earth and the sky. Nature has evolved them to the extent to live in the deep sea that they look literally scary and weird. So, does this mean that in the deep sea, scariness and weirdness is a strategy? If you got to learn anything new from this video, then do hit the like button. Subscribe to Time Thread channel because you will get to see such interesting videos here. See you next time. Till then, take care.